Do you guys want to shout hello to everybody that's on?
Hello, everybody.
Can you guys hear? I know they can hear you. We've got a great group here tonight. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Judah family. Some of you are already adopted. Some of you are brand new. We're glad to have you. Welcome. I'm Anjie Hipple. This is my sweetheart, Chuck. He's not on the camera because he's like Tim the Tool Man, or you know that neighbor that he had, that Wilson, that was his name. You never saw his face, and that was the gag. Well, I'll start by catching up. So tonight, Sunday nights are our friends and family night. It's a lot more intimate. We put out channels. Well, Chuck and I channel together with whoever comes on our living room sofa every night, and it's like a miracle every single night. It never gets old. It's amazing. And we put out something almost every day on YouTube, Instagram, and so on. And so there's lots of people all over the world who track with the Judah story, and it's really pretty cool and exciting. But Sunday nights when we get together, hey sweetheart, come on in. We have a few more trickling in. So Sunday nights, the first Sunday of the night when we get together here, this is our family time. And obviously it's time to channel. Hey, Griff, come on up. So a little news before we jump into the topic for tonight. We had the great privilege of being a guest, Judah and I, on Next Level Soul this week. Next Level Soul, if you don't know them, definitely get on board, hit the subscribe button and follow what they're doing. Alex is just this really neat guy who's, I think he's been working in Hollywood maybe 30 years as a producer with a lot of the top tier in Hollywood. And I'm sure you can imagine, spiritually speaking, that could be maybe a little tough. But he's been so absolutely courageous in that he's been willing to completely stake his reputation and everything that he's worked for there in the business to step out and do this spiritual broadcast that he does. And he interviews all kinds of channelers and near-death experiencers and people that are on the cutting edge of consciousness. And it was just really an honor to be on the show. And so we've had about 93,000 views this week on with Judah, the hour. And Paige, did you find us through them? Good. We're so glad. So, and the other cool bit of news that I wanted to share is I'm continuing to do personal sessions with people all over the world. Oh my gosh, I'm meeting the most amazing, earth-changing people. They're just unbelievable. In all walks of life, you know, that are really awake and really doing amazing work in the world. But the main bit that I wanted to share from that, just for understanding, is that I'm beginning to understand from listening to their stories that Judah literally is showing up when they call Judah's name and answering their prayers and doing things on their behalf. And I've heard this enough times now that I know that it's a reality. So I had an example of this yesterday. I had a session with a woman, and in the morning, she was just sitting and doing her usual meditation, and for some reason, she just decided to say Judah and call on the name of Judah. And as she did that, she just felt this loving presence just totally overcome her, and her body heated up, and she began to weep, and she began to have a memory of something from her childhood that was really painful for her, and she began to have this huge clearing of that and really got set free. And I loved that happened before she and I ever got on the phone call together. And so what I told her, I was like, isn't this cool? This is like proof positive that angels can be in many, many, many places at once. These really powerful, you know, top tier angels. You know, our guardian angels are always with us, but there are these certain beings that can literally, their consciousness can be in many places at once. And so people can call out and instantly get help or feel the presence of those angels and guides in the room with them and get immediate, tangible, physical answers and responses. So I just wanted to share that with you because it's still a kind of like a wow factor for me. Occasionally I will hear somebody, actually in my being, I will hear them call out the name of Judah, and I will actually know who it is. And I don't usually know what they're asking for, which is great. So Judah's protecting your anonymity. But I do feel like this overwhelming sense of love that Judah has for you when that happens to me. And that's really encouraging. All right, so let's get on to agreements. Tonight's about agreements. I've got my notes here. I'm just going to run through a few basic stuff. These are just kind of like core principles that we're gathering through our nightly sessions together, and then we'll jump into channeling. And we will definitely have time for questions at the end if you guys have questions for Judah. So let's talk about agreements. Each one of us has thousands of agreements that we have made in our lifetime. Most of them, the vast majority of them, we are not aware of. They are unconscious. They've been sublimated into our subconscious mind, but they still have power. Some of them have more power than others. How much power they have is generally determined by how much pain or emotion or joy came around the circumstance in which we entered into the agreement. We have thousands of these agreements. We've made them with ourselves. Those are usually the most powerful ones. There are agreements we've made with God. For some people that are atheists, there's agreements that they've made that there is no God. That is an agreement that impacts their life. We have agreements with others, important to us and even less important, and even in society, we have multitudes of agreements. And these agreements that we make, beginning, even sometimes in the womb and just out of the womb, they begin to form our personality, our egoic structures. Now, there's healthy ego, and then there's the ego that we talk about typically here is going to be the ego that's restrictive, that's limiting us from us being all that we really are, our eternal, beautiful, perfect parts. So our agreements, if they're formed out of fear or pain or hurt, then they are major energy suckers from our life. Major energy suckers. And they can eventually lead to disease, depression, serious discouragement, sadness. And once we start getting aware of those agreements and breaking those agreements, then we start really living. And our life force energy comes back into our body and into our being. So we can spend an enormous amount of energy trying to maintain these agreements. Here's one that just came to me earlier. I've just kind of been meditating on this a few days. I usually pick a topic around Wednesday and then try to spend a lot of time with Judah on it. For instance, I grew up in the era of Dr. Spock. You guys are too young to remember Dr. Spock, but he was like a famous child guru that told every mother in America how to raise their children. And he told, the mothers of America, well, you've just got to let that spoiled baby cry in the crib. And so my sweet mother is, along with many multitudes of other mothers with the very best of intentions, stayed in their bedrooms with their hearts wrenching, hurting, while they let their baby cry in the other room. So even as an infant, here's an example of an agreement. Crying in the crib, no one's coming. Here's the agreement, I'm alone. No one's here for me. The people that are supposed to love me the most, they're not going to be here for me when I need them. Imagine the power of that agreement and how that impacts our life. And these agreements, especially the ones that are made when we're very, very young, they're like little tiny seeds. If you think about an apple tree, if you took a seed from an apple today and planted it in the ground, it would lie dormant for a really long time. And eventually there might be a little sprouting from it, and then a little branches and trees, and it would be decades maybe before there was fruit that you could eat off of that tree. Well, these are how these agreements are. They're little seeds in our heart, born out of hurt and pain, and sometimes it takes decades for us to begin to experience the fruit of it, right? The bad fruit of it. And so we're wondering, why is everything going to shit? Why am I having a midlife crisis? Why am I depressed? You know, I've got a wonderful life. Well, it's because of these little agreements that are finally have grown enough and have these deep enough root systems to bear this really bad fruit. And so this is where Judah and angels, so we can talk therapy all day long. It's like talk therapy and a lot of the other things that we do with very good intentions can be like climbing up a tree and snipping off the branches or the leaves or picking off the bad fruit, right? But bad fruit's going to keep coming back until you pull the whole thing up out of the ground. And so Judah and other supernatural sources of help, they know where these seeds are. They know where the original wound is. They know whether it's from when you were 4 or 5 or 15 or 25, or if it was from a past life or maybe many past lives. Some of us, our most difficult things we're struggling with are because we've been struggling with those things for many lifetimes. So we've got a lot of karma around that. And we can't unpack all of that. It takes too long. We don't have time for that. It's time to be happy now and to love and live our lives in joy and in peace. So that's where angels can come in and help us. So let's see, what else do I have here? So these limiting agreements might sound like I should have, or I shouldn't have, or I could have, or I wish I had. Or they could sound like I am statements like, I'm too skinny. I'm whatever.
Sick.
I'm sick. You know, I shouldn't make mistakes. Good girls always, good boys always. Here's here's a big one. Life is hard. We need to be really careful, you know, about not saying life is hard. Every time we say that, we're coming into agreement with that statement that life is hard, right? And we're just reinforcing it and cementing it in. One story. So obviously there's too many agreements that could ever go over all these, but the important point is that you begin to become aware of them and let them kind of bubble up in your heart, in your emotions. When you start feeling emotion around one, you're like, that's the one that Judah's ready, that your angels, your spirit guides, or whoever you feel a connection with, Jesus, Buddha, whoever that is for you, is ready to help you get rid of, that you're ready to toss. They're not serving you anymore. Here's a big one for me. I remember this as a young mom when one of my children got to be a young teen, began to get into a lot of trouble and with drugs and violence and some scary stuff that was really, really painful for me. And I realized at that point that I have an agreement, my children shouldn't suffer. My children shouldn't suffer. And not only did I have an agreement that my children shouldn't suffer, a belief system about that, I also unconsciously kind of had made this deal with God, but God never signed the deal. God wasn't in on it, but I thought he was, or she was, and I thought, well, if I'm a good person and I'm a loving Christian mom and I've raised my kids right, then God's going to do me a solid and make sure my kids don't suffer. That's what I believed. I didn't even realize I believed that until my kids started really encountering this pain. So the agreement or belief that I had that my children shouldn't suffer, it was causing me to suffer. And it still causes me to suffer if I am not careful to break agreement with that. And so these agreements form our egos and they cause us pain. Then on a broader scale, you think about advertising. We're constantly making agreements subliminally with, we watch the ads on TV at night that tell us that we're going to be sick and we're going to have to buy this certain drug once we get sick. That's an agreement. Or this car is going to make me happy. Or if I bought that, I could finally be skinny or look good or be younger, whatever. So we're making all these agreements in the culture as well. So we're going to ask Judah to channel on agreements, whatever they have to say. And I love that Judah always modifies whatever happens based on the exact people that are here, right? Judah knows your heart and what's going on with you, and makes it all about you and its service to you. And I love that. Any questions about that so far, or thoughts or anything? No? Okay. All right, here we go. Hello, dear ones. Judah here. We're very thankful for your presence and for your attention. Yes, yes. Your attention is a priceless gift. And by being here and giving your attention to this time and this message, you are bringing in a light into your inner being and drawing attention to your own heart and soul. You are casting a vote for yourself. You are casting a vote that says, I am important enough. Who I am, what matters to me, and who I want to be is important enough for me to be in a place like this, in a city so vast, with millions of people. And tonight there are myriads of things that you could do that would tickle your fancy, that would be fun and entertaining for you, and even give you momentary delights and pleasures. And yet you are here. And why is that? Because you're chosen in this time and season of your life to wake up and to the vastness of who you are, which expands far beyond this night, this space, far beyond your careers, your relationships, your location, far beyond that into the vast eternity of the cosmos, for you are a cosmic being. You are an internal part of all that is. You will go on after this life. However many years you might live, days, months, or years you might live, and then you will go on, continue on into expounding upon the glory of who you are. Now that might be a little much for you, we understand, but you beginning by being here, you are here, and you will experience our profound love for you. Our profound love for you. You see, there's no mistake that you could make. There's no choice that you could make or not make that would deter us in any way from our affection for you, our love for you. We take you however you come as you are, come as you are. And we are here present for you and will be with you on your way, all along the way. Whether you choose to bring us and keep us into your awareness or not. And we speak tonight representing the one. You may not know this one. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But there is a shard, a bit, a fractal of this one in you. We are careful about the words we use. Because words are never enough. Would you agree? Would you agree that words are never enough? Someone might say to you every day, I love you, but if they don't treat you well, you know the truth, don't you? So let's talk about these agreements. First of all, dear, any agreement that you have made within yourself that is against yourself in any way is a sin, and that is truly the only sin. Sin is a widely misunderstood word and concept, greatly misrepresented. To sin is to do something against yourself. This vessel, when she was a school teacher, many times the little children would say something. derogatory about themselves, such as I'm not that smart, or I don't get it, or many other things. And the teachers as well would run themselves down with their words. And she would say, "Oh dear, please don't talk about my friend that way," and laugh. So might you share that with others around you? When they say something to run themselves down, to put themselves down, you might say, "Oh, please don't talk about my friend like that." And begin to call each other into awareness about your words, for your words are spells or they are prayers. Spells or prayers, spells or prayers. Every word is a spell or prayer. So think carefully about your words. Thoughts are powerful. Words are ever more powerful. Thoughts. Words are the next step after a thought. And there is a huge marketplace, even like a busy Walmart on Christmas Eve. Hustle and bustle all around. This is what your mind is like. Myriads of thoughts running to and fro. But the ones that you give words to, that have the attention of your speech, become even more powerful and more firmly created. Some of you, even as this vessel was sharing, you were thinking about words that your parents said to you, or your lovers, or maybe words that you've said. Parents, we want to speak to you for a moment. Be very careful about what you say to your children. And if you realize that you've planted a wicked seed in their heart through a word that you've said, please have the humility to tell them how sorry you are and do your very best to pluck out that seed lest it take root. Now, right now, we're going to use our authority, and we're just going to say, right now, we just begin, right now, to sweep through this room and break the power of lies, and deeply held subconscious beliefs in your spirit, even ones you've agreed to, even as a very young child. We begin to uproot those now. Let any emotion that surfaces come. Welcome it with open arms, knowing it is a sign of your freedom. A sign of your freedom. Let those old historical emotions come to go. They come to go. Don't hold them back anymore. And we begin to speak freedom and peace to you. Now, as these agreements come up, you have the authority within you in your higher self to say, I break agreement with that. I break agreement with that. That's a lie. I won't believe it. You see, the ego is built around constructs of fear. And there's lots of talk about ego in spiritual circles, and it sounds like, oh, you know, like some of those highly prominent figures in your culture. And you might think of them when you think of ego. You might think of pride or arrogance or narcissism and so on. But there's a lot more to it than that, you see. It is the fearful, childlike parts that need your love and comfort. So begin to be a loving parent for yourself. For yourself. Stop looking to your mother and father or other mothers and fathers figures to heal you up. Now, this mother and father figure sitting here, they have a lot of healing love to give you that can, yes, transform a lot. But if you are not in the room with them and you do not have access to a new experience from another mother and another father, then look inside yourself, for your soul is wise, ancient, and knowing, and all loving and forgiving. And your soul can be a loving parent to the fractured and hurting parts within you. If a child was hurting or frightened or upset, you wouldn't shush them, you would comfort them. So why wouldn't you treat yourself the same way? Why? Why not? Why not be compassionate? Why not love yourself? Why not care about yourself? Be more patient with yourselves, my dear, when you have fearful parts. Love and comfort yourself. And tell your childlike, fearful parts that it's okay. Say, it's okay, my dear. My higher self is on the scene. You see, this is where you begin to mature spiritually. Spiritual maturity and emotional maturity are directly correlated. Anyone that tells you that they are a spiritual person and has no control whatsoever of their emotions is likely deceiving themselves. You see, but emotional maturity and spiritual maturity are very uniquely tied. So feel your feelings and let your higher self comfort your parts, many, many parts inside of you, dear. There's the part that's the son, the father, the daughter, the friend, the co-worker, the entrepreneur and businessman, the server. There are many, many parts to you. Let's integrate them all. This is what high consciousness and evolving spiritually towards enlightenment means. It means integrating all of your parts, all of the parts, until the sum of the parts equals something magnificent, and even otherworldly, and so very powerful. Please, please, we beg of you, stop giving your personal power over to people who do not love you, or care about you, or have your best interests at heart. Do not give them your personal power. For in order to move into your heart space, and to operate from your heart, you must first ignite and begin to move the energy in your sacral chakra, which is about your personal power. And as long as you're giving your personal power here over to people who do not really love you, who are unconscious, who are soul-sucking, unconscious people, as long as you are giving them your personal power, you cannot move into your heart space and live from your heart. So guard your heart with all diligence. Be a diligent soldier guarding your own heart. We're not talking about throwing up walls or being unkind, but being awake to what is sucking your energy and what is leaving you dry and hurting, you see, and loving yourself enough to care for your own being. You see, when you love yourself, you've loved the others. And when you love the others, you love yourself. And the two are very closely intertwined. And because of the extreme cultural conditioning in the culture, and all the constant reinforcement of dysfunction and codependency, you may get the two confused. It is hard to understand what love is. So until you are overcome with love in every part, every cell of your being at all times on a very consistent basis, until that time, move towards what is loving for the self. Yes. Now, let's break these agreements. I'm going to ask you right now to pull the most primary one that's come into your mind at this time. Pull it up and hold it right here on your heart, and we're going to begin breaking the power of these agreements. You see, fear is always built on a lie, and if you expose the lie to the light of truth, then the fear will die. So listen carefully before we break this agreement. Understand that when you feel afraid, it is because you're believing a lie. So you may call out to us. You may say, Judah, what is the lie I'm believing right now that is making me afraid? What is the lie? And once you sense that lie spoken in your intuition and you know what it is, then tell yourself the truth. Tell yourself the truth. The lie that you are alone is not true, my dear. You are, oh, ha, oh, yes. When this vessel was so very alone during COVID, so very alone. And yet she was not alone. There was an entourage of holy angels assembling all about her for this beautiful party, which you are now enjoying. And she was not alone in any way, shape, or form. So see, the lie was that she was alone, and she needed to break that agreement in order to fully experience the joy of our presence, our company, and our friendship. What is your lie, my dear? And stop repeating this lie to yourself and tell yourself the truth. And so now we just reach in and we snap that agreement into as easily as snapping a twig. And now may you be healed in all realms of time and space, and may you know the truth. All parts of you in all realms of time and space, past, present, parallel, and future versions of you know the truth, that here is the truth. You can't make a mistake. You are on the right path. Because it is a pathless path, my dear. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, because you are there and because you are doing it, it has become your path. And it is the right path for you. And no one shall tell you differently. And there's nothing that you can do, nothing you have ever done in this life or another that will disqualify you from the love of God and from your spiritual inheritance, which is authority and true authentic power of the soul in every realm. And anything this vessel can do, you can do better. She sings this song many times out into the air as a prayer for you all. Anything I can do, you can do better. You see? Good. Well done. Do you want to share the story that you had to share about? Should I wait till you can come back a little bit? Or you share whatever you want, sweetie. He's blissed out.
Okay. So, my mind keeps leaving me.
It's okay. Want me to come back to you?
No.
Okay.
All right. So, as many of you know, I'm an acupuncturist, and one of the things I specialize is in fertility. So I had this one woman who came to see me who was having troubles, been having troubles for about 5 years. And I got her very balanced, very healthy, and I kept thinking, there's no reason, there's no physical reason for this woman not to get pregnant. There's no physical reason. Therefore, there must be an unconscious program. So this is something the Palladians had taught me how to do. So I investigated to see if there was, in fact, an unconscious program. Some of you may know that our unconscious mind has 95% of our power, and our conscious mind only has 5% of our power. So if we have an unconscious belief that has 95% of our power, even if we consciously want to get pregnant, we're not going to get pregnant. So I checked, and sure enough, she had an unconscious belief. And a lot of times when I do this to bring it up, it'll come up, what it is that happened will come up, and and the person will remember. Sometimes they don't, they just get cleared. But she remembered when she was 5 years old, she asked for a Barbie doll for Christmas. And she got a doll, but it wasn't a Barbie doll. So she threw it down and kicked it. You know how 5-year-olds can be sometimes. So her mother said to her, just because of that, you'll never be able to have children. After that came up, that very next month she got pregnant. That's the power of an agreement. Especially to a child whose mother is God, and when God tells you something, you automatically believe it.
Yeah. That's a great story, thank you. And that just reminded me too that you don't have to necessarily know exactly what the belief is or exactly where it originated. You can just say a very simple prayer, and I pray this a lot. I just say, Judah, will you please tag and trait any subconscious beliefs in me that are hindering me, or any subconscious belief in here that in me that's not serving my highest and best good, or any subconscious belief that's not serving me well, and just let them go to work on it. And a lot of too is just when you feel the emotion start coming up after that, trust that you're getting cleared. That's the sign of the clearing. The emotion is the sign. And so you want to welcome that and really embrace it and really let it flow. And when you see that emotion start flowing, then you know that the healing is there and the subconscious root is getting pulled up completely. All right, does anybody else have any questions for Judah? We'll open the floor up for whatever. Any topics are welcome. Anybody?
Is it, Judah, is it important to spread that message about the next coming 18 months?
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to tell it, or do you want Judah to tell it? Yes, let's talk about that. Okay, yes, so we shared a message. We will repeat it here probably slightly differently. That is fine. In the next 18 months, there's going to be a great shaking in this nation around caused by political wranglings. Get ready. Oh. It's going to be like 9 points on the Richter scale. And we're not telling you this to be bearers of bad news, but to prepare you, dear ones. And we're asking you all, like never before, to keep your focus on what is good, what is right, what is true. Don't allow yourself to be shaken in any way by what you see. Be very, very careful about your media consumption this time. If you are courageous enough, perhaps forego it altogether. Because there's going to be so much lies and disinformation on both sides of the aisle. Listen carefully, both sides of the aisle. And we are looking for beautiful, American-loving souls who will neither be red nor blue, but be determined to love and forgive all, and maintain clarity of thought and purpose and intention. Be very careful what you give attention to, my dears, because this shaking will be profound, and you must keep your feet planted solidly on secure ground. And secure ground, the ground of the soul, which will not be shaken. You may be, this is our promise to you. Our promise to you in this time is, if you shall be so grounded and rooted in love for all, love for self and love for all, and give your attention only to what is good and right and true, We shall stabilize the ground under your feet so that you shall not be harmed. But if you choose to imbibe on the drama and trauma, there will be trauma from the drama, dear ones, from the political climate. And if you feed upon this drama, it shall create a trauma for you in your interior parts. So be careful. Cast your vote in good conscience. But do not base your decision on anything you see or hear. Hear a word from heaven. Hear a word from heaven in your heart about what is true and right and good. And that is all that need be done. And this shaking will endure for 18 months. And we, in the prior channel, sent out a call to our Canadian friends to please give us their loving prayers and intentions for this time. And from any nation, but especially from our Canadian friends, we need an energetic bridge of support.
Well, Angie and I, please given some power and some energy that if somebody needs a little help, that we will be able to help them.
Yes, of course. Go, you have something?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go for it.
It's kind of related. Can I get like a reset? I'm talking like light language for like the nervous system, and it kind of plays well into what you're just saying with trying to stay grounded. So like getting out of fight or flight when it's not necessary, basically.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. So Amos asked for a light language transmission around stabilizing the nervous system and grounding. Anything else?
Maybe like reducing inflammation around maybe like brain and nervous system as well.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Hello, dear Amos. Pleiadian sisters here.
Nice to see you. Nice to hear from you.
Hello, old friend. Okay, yes, we would love to give a transmission for all of our friends listening. This transmission will be to calm and cushion the nervous system, to facilitate grounding and quiet in the nervous system, and an increased capacity to settle anxious nerves. Ochin and I utika u sabitita I rated utika urited it sata sheta that I took it die at it and sat who tagate at the she and I nanu takai usananaria de ko ratato at the at utsate uta a shit etika I uta inneke it's in daish da. Isha die utake da isaka ishina I una ineke uta ona uta sakai na chu ani itike asake ishina ana ota uta akena I ineka utaka ache eta auka ucha sa vete ta ishte. Yes, dear ones, and your sensitivity is your superpower. And so please, we would ask in conjunction with this message tonight, please break any agreements that you have, that your sensitivity is a burden, that your sensitivity causes you distress, that your sensitivity is unwanted or not a gift, but a troublesome to you. We ask you to break that agreement and to begin to embrace and give thanks and be grateful for your sensitivity. Yes, be grateful for your sensitivity. And we want to empower that sensitivity. It is your superpower. It will protect you in difficult times. It will give you that, yes, we want to make you like those war horses that when all the bombs and explosives and so many things are exploding, going on, chaos around the soldier on his war horse, he may give that horse the slightest nudge, and amidst all that chaos, the horse can feel that slight nudge and follow direction. And in this way, your sensitivity will serve you well in difficult times. You see, dears, there will come times where you will need to not go to a certain place, or not talk to a certain person, or not take a certain job, and you may have absolutely no logical reason or explanation whatsoever for your choice, but there is some sensitivity in you. There is some deep voice, your inner voice in your higher self, that will caution you, not in fear, but from a place of deep peace and centeredness and knowingness. And when you have this phenomenon, please listen and follow your instinct, your intuition. Listen to your gut. And don't worry about what others might think or say, or how might they respond, but trust in this sensitivity, your superpower. And for those of you who have been wounded or teased because of your sensitivity, even burned, we put our healing salve over you now. Healing salve from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Even oiling and healing your nervous system and blessing your sensitivity. And may you find it to be a great gift and a treasure. It's a own by it's a utakan and I sit and take ishti. Tuka rate it is sit a usta I at ukate it a own die che.
Lady and sisters,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
with the treatment that I believe you all taught me, which I call switching, is that another way that could be used in a situation if necessary?
Yes, of course. And we would send out the message. Anyone who is experiencing a prolonged state of anxiety, distress, or disease of any sort, chronic disease, disorders, that this gentleman's treatment can bring your body back into stasis, balance, and health, out of frightened adrenaline states of anxiety and back into growth and repair. Indeed, this was the very first statement that this vessel's partner made to her, and she never forgot it. And it is true. You will either be in growth and repair or fight and flight. This is a truism for all humans. So check your heart tonight. Ask yourself, dear ones, are you in growth and repair? or are you in fight or flight? And then pray to be held safe in growth and repair. Another way to say this is, are you in fear and doubt or love and trust? Fear and doubt or love and trust. When you find yourself in fight or flight, fear or doubt, yes, withdraw. Withdraw until you find yourself back in peace and love again. Anybody else? Yes, sweetie.
Does Healing Angel Raphael have any questions right now?
The angel Raphael? Okay. Raphaela wants to hear from the angel Raphael. Let's see. Well, what I see for you, sweetie, is I just see you in a cradle. It's not your baby self, it's you, your big self, in a cradle, and you're being rocked. So I would say just allow yourself to be really comforted by angelic presence, and just soak up whatever feels comforting for you in this next season. And don't feel like you have to be grown up or mature or have it figured out. And just, you know, when we're infants, we're completely reliant on others to care for us. And so I think that vision is just, yes, Archangel Raphael saying that they've got you. They're rocking you, comforting you, providing for you, taking care of you in this next season. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yeah.
I've had the thought come up a lot recently when you hear about like people in the spiritual community, and they talk about being Pleiadian, or they talk about Arcturian, or what have you, and being here on Earth in this body. And it just makes me wonder, but haven't we all been all things? Or, you know, and maybe, I mean, in different varies, but we're all here right now in a human body. And it just keeps coming, you know, it just makes me wonder. I don't know, like why are we grasping onto who we were in the past and identity when we've all been different identities, and here we are.
Okay, we can answer that question. So what we think you're asking, you can say yay or nay. We think you are sensing, sometimes the ego steps in and says, oh, I'm going to identify as this interstellar race or that or the other, in order to find some sense of meaning, something to add to the self. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not saying that all of this information about Pleiadians and Arcturians and Lyrans and other races is inaccurate or completely irrelevant. We're not saying that. But what you sensed, dear, in your discernment is that sometimes people want this information in order to add on something to boost the ego. You see, it's no different than, let's say, someone needs a PhD because they're still feeling insecure about something in some way, you see, and so they need to add on something, or someone needing to buy a bigger vacation home, or take a better cruise or whatever, because they think that thing will make them happy. You see, the ego is insatiable, absolutely insatiable. It always thinks there's one more thing that will make me okay. There's one more thing. That one more thing, if I have that one more thing added on to who I am, then I will finally be enough. Is that true, dear? Is that what you're picking up on?
Yeah.
Okay, so you are correct. Yes, most people here are star seeds. There are many, many star seeds in the earth, meaning souls that have reincarnated here from other interstellar ancient races. If you feel a connection to one of them and it bears some good fruit in your life, that connection, so be it. But you don't need any of that in order to be what you are, because what you are is enough. What you are in this moment is absolutely enough. And so just like in some religions, if you go to certain holy places or kiss the feet of some holy person, that somehow adds to your spiritual nature or becoming a nun or so on. And so in the New Age culture, there is also this tendency, you see, to think that there is one more title, description, identification that I can make that will finally make me enough. And all of this is unnecessary.
It's the same reason why people do that 23 thing. They want to find out they were a king or a queen or somebody. It's the same thing. Who cares what was? The other thing we need to remember, there is no such thing as time. There is no history. It's all taking place right now.
And if we're all part of Source,
Right.
then we're
all connected.
Right.
We're all one.
Right.
We're all one. So you are the Palladians.
Mhm.
You are a rock that's out in the backyard. Everything is a piece of God. Everything is a piece of consciousness. There is not anything that is not God.
One of the things that Judah talked to us about recently that ended up being a part of the course is about spiritual bar hopping. And so there's this incredible wealth of spiritual resources out there, like we were just talking about Alex's show. It's so powerful. I mean, you can read the comments and see that people are really receiving true transformation through some of these resources, definitely. And here I am, I'm a part of that now. But there is a tendency we can have to do this spiritual bar hopping. And I've never done bar hopping. Maybe I'll do that in my next life or something. But it's kind of like speed dating, right? So you can take in, there's all this wealth of information, you can take it in. But have you really absorbed it at your core level? Has it changed you? Have you had an experience of being overwhelmed by unconditional love and knowing that you're absolutely okay? And is there any intimacy? Is there anybody in your life that you're intimately accountable to, a spiritual partner with?
Okay.
Yeah, it's time to wind down. Anybody else? Any last question? Okay.
One tiny last question.
Yeah, please.
Wait, can you tell what dimension Dolores Cannon is on?
Wow. Okay, we can ask. Oh, yes, ninth. Yeah, ninth. Yeah, she's pretty amazing. I recommend her stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Let me sign off here somehow.